Hello to episode 9. And even though I have been rambling on all 8 of these episodes to whoever is listening, um, I, this one is probably going to be the most random one, but I hope it is still helpful because I am going to be talking about behaviors and just like, I just really feel like how parents parent children when focusing on when like they're dysregulated is so important to rate like on when trying to raise inclusive kids. And why do I feel like that's so connected? I think part of it is that kids with disabilities sometimes come with dysregulated behaviors. We don't have um they might not have successful ways to communicate, to like express how they're feeling other than showing their behaviors. Um, and they might be uncomfortable. They might not be feeling well. And like, we as the educators or parents don't always know how to best support them, which can be really frustrating, which can lead to a lot of dysregulated behaviors with children and adults. And so I feel like as adults, teachers, as parents, as just like adults in our community, being able to support a child or really a person through a dysregulated behavior is like a skill that I just feel like is so important when like I don't know, connecting with your community, when forming relationships with people, with like building those trusted relationships. So, even though last week I had a whole outline of how I talked about religion with inclusion, um, I'm really just going to talk about behaviors because, and I just as a teacher, as a former teacher, it has been really hard for me not to turn off my constant observation mode. I do it with my parents. I do it with my in laws. I do it with my partner. I do it with random people at the park. I mean, anytime someone is talking to a child, I observe. And it's not like in a good or bad way. I don't leave being like, wow, what a crappy parent. Like, I, oh man, I didn't realize where I was sitting. Um, So yeah, I don't like that's not why I observe. It's more that I observe because I guess I'm trying to like make notes on like, okay, well that's how the parent handled that and that's how the child handled that. So that's probably a pretty like common conversation that they have a lot. And like if okay, actually, you know what? Today was a great example. We were at gymnastics class and I was with both kids. One was doing the class, the other one we were playing with on the ground. And there were 4 other parents there. So there were 5 kids together in the class, mine, and then each parent had 1 kid in class. And 2 of the kids, my child gets along with really well. And the 3 of them just play together. They all are very like consensual. They're like, chase me, chase me. Okay, I'm done. Whatever. They stop. Like it's like so great to see the 3 of them having these conversations with each other as like 3 and 4 year olds. Um, and then there were these other 2 kids. And even though all 5 of them got along, they're kids. But these other 2 had a couple of more like behaviors that I was just noticing. Um, one of them got kind of frustrated with someone and just screamed really loud, and it startled the one that she was screaming at. And so that little child, ran away, got comforted by their parent. Um, which I'll talk about that in a second. But that was one of the behaviors, and the parent like did not even notice the screaming happened. What she noticed was that another kid was crying, and she was like, "Oh, that's weird. Like, did you get startled by the scream or something?" And to me, all I thought about was like, "Wow." You are like sitting right here with your child right there, and you had no idea that that scream is what set off that other child. Um, and this child also was the other 2 children had a relationship with their parent that felt a little bit more I don't actually know how to explain their relationship with their parents. I mean, obviously everyone seemed very loved. Like I am never observing it like that. It's more that these two parents, I don't feel like know exactly how to like empathize with the big behaviors that kids have. And I mean, it just shows that like these children kind of would get like just very dysregulated really fast. Um, and then if their parent was just like, just stop or whatever, they just like kind of stopped. And like that kind of unhealthy, in my opinion, it's unhealthy of this like huge spike and then coming down. Which like again feels kind of funny to say because of course all kids have spikes. Of course all these kids are having like, everyone's getting dysregulated, but it's different and I really can't tell why. Maybe this is why podcasts have co-hosts because then you're like getting feedback and I'm just like talking into the abyss. Um so okay. So the little girl screamed, mom like did not even notice until someone else was upset by it, which I just thought was like a whole interesting interaction because I mean I was with a second child and I was still able to hear if my child, you know, was doing anything that we usually find like a healthier way to like, she was starting to get a little antsy at one point and she like, she started to get like her other friends got up to run and she kind of got up and then she stopped because she like knew we were supposed to be listening to the teacher and then like kind of looked at me and I was like, yeah, you should probably sit back down. And then she did. And so it's like little moments like that she like has that inner voice that's like, oh ooh, wait, like I really want to run around, but I think the teacher just told me that we should sit because we're going to do a new like fun activity. um I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm comparing things that make sense. I'm really just rambling here. I realize I'm not going to, whatever. I'm out of town this weekend. And so I all of a sudden frantically thought I'd need to film something so I can stay on my schedule. I really love my schedule. Okay. So so that was one kid. The other mom had two kids there, and one of them joyfully went onto the floor, and then the other one did not want to separate from his parent. And the one that went onto the floor, like chill. I mean, again, I have nothing against these children having dysregulated behaviors at all. He he did, oh gosh, I don't even know how to explain this in a way. I guess instead of me talking about that child, I want to talk about how the mom handled the other child, because that child had a lot of anxiety joining and she was just trying to get him to join. He didn't want to join, and then he got iPad and snacks and puzzles sitting next to his mom. And then I think anytime she would bring it up, he would leave the gym, which is not safe. You like just leave and there's a parking lot. So, she would get up and you could see that she was annoyed. I mean, who wouldn't be annoyed? You're like paying for a class and your child's not doing it. I've been there, man. Uh, but again, how she talked to the child was just something that I noticed. It just like it wasn't very respectful. It wasn't, and actually this makes me think about when people go online and they're like, my child like just will not sit at the table and eat their food. Like, can someone just tell me how to get them to sit at the table and eat their food? And to me, I think, okay, well, like, did you ask them? Like, did you talk to the kid about it instead of just telling them you have to sit down and eat your food? Like, that's what you're choosing to do. Do they really have to sit down and eat their food? This one parent that I absolutely love, they have the rule that you do have to sit down while you're eating. You can get up and walk around, but you cannot bring your food with you. Um, Me, I don't have that rule. We're very like, yeah, sure, you want to eat over there. You just can't eat on the couch because we don't want food in the couch. But our floor gets vacuumed every night, so we don't care. Um, but my friend does care because she has animals and she's like, oh yeah, if they bring a plate down to like a chair, even the dog's gonna get it and then they don't have their food. And I was like, oh, that is a great, that's like a great reason. Like there needs to be reasons for these rules and like a conversation with the kids about it. So when people are like, they won't sit and eat and it's like, okay, well, Like, why? Why does that matter? Like, do you not want it to be dirty? Like, can they take a bite and then go walk around and play something? I mean, when kids are 2 and 3 and 4, it's like their attention span's not that long to sit and eat food. It's just not like an adult. They haven't been working all day. They've been playing and they just want to keep playing. Uh, so yeah, so talking to kids, I think, is so important to give them like the benefit of the doubt. And then if they don't know, and maybe you do know, you should say it in a way that's helpful and help them get there and understand that feeling that they're having. Another example I want to talk about a lot is that when like a transition of like, okay, so like a friend comes over and then that friend has to leave. And the host of that friend is really mad that they have to leave. And they're like, well, if you leave, I'm never going to play with you again. I hate you. You know, say something horrible to their friend who's leaving. If the parent or the adult in this situation is like, don't say that, they won't want to come over, that is not handling what is actually happening with the child. What's happening with the child is that they are feeling sad that their friend is leaving. They are feeling, upset that all of their fun things that they've been doing is now coming to an end. And that is something that is a very, very normal feeling. We all have those feelings. Telling them not to say it because their friend won't come over is not helping them get through those feelings. So, what we need to do, oh my gosh, how did I not start this whole podcast with this? I randomly thought of this last week or something on Instagram. I'm going to do a whole post about it. About behaviors, dysregulated behaviors, that we should treat it like a fire. Stop, drop, and roll. Stop what you are doing. Drop down to the child's eye level. Drop down to their level, and then roll through the emotion with them. So your child is upset, their friend is leaving, and they're so mad and they're saying all these mean things towards their friend. Stop. Do not comment on what they are saying. That is not helpful. Understand where that behavior is coming from. Drop to their level so they know that you are on their side with them, and then roll through that emotion. You can say things like, "Oh, you sound like you are feeling really upset that your friend is leaving. I totally hate it when my friends have to leave. But it is time for dinner. Let's work on some things that we can think about. Like, okay, they're leaving. It's upsetting, but when do I get to see them next? Or let's enjoy all of the fun things. Let's reminisce about all the fun things we did. Maybe tomorrow we can give them a phone call or a FaceTime in a week or whatever. And then if you want to be sad, be sad. Don't stop kids from crying or being mad. If they need to hit something, give them a pillow. Don't tell them to shove those emotions in, because as somebody who shoves in crying, it sucks. It's exhausting. And I wish I could just cry and just feel that emotion. I mean, I do cry a lot, but it's a lot of tearing. The real crying is like not a lot of people get to see that, because I was kind of brought up that crying was like no one wants to see it. People want you to be happy all the time, and that's just not true. So stop, drop, and roll, I think, is like, I don't know if I need to trademark or copyright that, but I was like so excited when I thought of that, because it just works with so many different things. Sharing is actually another area that I feel like a lot of behaviors come from sharing. And what people keep doing is just saying, no, we have to share. We have to share our toys. That is not helpful to anybody. Unless you're really going off on some beautiful path of that nothing is ours type of mentality, I don't think it's helpful. First step for sharing that I think is so important is to prepare a child that they are going to be sharing. So if someone is coming over to your house to talk to your child about what we're going to share, and really it's hard to like hide a bunch of things. I usually say, if there is a special toy you don't want to share, let's go put it away in like mama's closet or something. And then Two, a lot of times when we are starting to share and and kids are having a hard time, I say, "Hey, let's practice sharing." Because I feel like this makes it not such a like a strict thing or not such like a permanent thing. Like, hey, we're just going to practice. If it doesn't work, we can like take a break. And we also the a couple of the rules that I have with sharing is first off, you never have to share. If you were playing with a toy and someone comes over and wants to play with you and you don't want to, you can say no. That is totally fine, and I will go help that person find a new game to play or a new toy to play with. Um, but I do like to remember those moments because actually tonight was a great example. Tonight, my older child had a thing of stickers, and the younger child came over to be like, "Hey, I want those stickers." And she said, "No, I don't want to share them." And I said, "Cool." And then within 30 minutes, he had a cup that he was like coloring or something. And she came over and was like, "Oh, I want to play with that cup." And he said, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, he doesn't want to share." And she was like, "Well, no, but I want it." And I'm like, "Yeah, but sometimes we don't want to share. Like you had your stickers, you didn't want to share. He had those, he doesn't want to share. It just happens." This isn't a way of me to like make her feel bad. Like it's just kind of a reminder of like, right? Like you had your stickers and you didn't want to share, and that's totally fine. But now that's how he's feeling. He has this cup and he doesn't want to share. And then she was like, "Oh, well then I'll share my stickers." And I'm like, "That's not how that works." And so we tried to talk about that. I do think that's a little advanced, but I do think it's really important to keep having these conversations, and it just becomes so normalized that we've always had these rules of like you don't have to share. Um, but if you're expecting them to share with you, like you shouldn't probably expect that. Uh, so I love doing that. And I also love recognizing when sharing happens or when good communication happens. Like, even if one child goes to the other one and they want to share or they're asking to share and they say no and they're like, "Ah, okay," and they go and do something else, I will usually say something. And it's not big. I won't be like, "What a party." No, I'll be just like, "Hey, that was really awesome. You communicated asking to share and then you didn't, and then you like went and did something else. Like, nice job figure problem solving." I usually try to throw in those words of like problem solving. You were working on something hard. I don't really focus on like the end goal or the end thing. I focus on that part in between of like, wow, you did a really great job. You're like still working on it. And I love that you're like trying to persevere. I probably don't say persevere with my kids, but well, I also do. They have a pretty uh, interesting vocabulary for well, my 3-year old. Um, yeah. Okay. So behaviors. So, oh man, there was something else I wanted to talk about. Stop, drop, and roll. Uh, oh yeah, always giving okay, so this will be the last tip and then we're going to be done because this is a lot and I just, rambling. Um, the tip of don't just say you have to share or be nice or, even stop hitting. It needs to be something that you want them to do. So it's like, "Hey, let's have you play with the toy for a little bit, and then they'll play for the toy for a little bit, and then they'll bring it back to you." Like that is a great way that I love to share is where we will practice it being like, "You hold it, now you hold it, now you hold it." Like, "Look, it came back. How fun." Also, I do not have the rule that if the toy drops on the ground, it's like free for all. No way. Someone can be playing with something, put it down, go get something else to bring back. That is still the toy they're playing with. We need to learn to observe each other. And that is what we practice on a lot in this house. Anyways, so be nice. That does not make any sense to kids. You need to tell them how to be nice. So it's like, "Oh, hey, we're not going to hit. We are going to use gentle hands. If you want to get their attention, let's tap on their shoulder or say, hey." Um, you know, be nice. Like, let's pick a toy that they can play with. Like, let's find a game that we can all play together. Like, giving them concrete examples of what we want them to do. And I just feel like a lot of these practices are things that have helped my children play with other kids that might not be communicating the same way, might have different sort of support needs. I mean, obviously, I am in the disabled community not as me having a disability or my children having a disability, but as an advocate or ally. I have friends with disabilities. We have friends who have kids with disabilities. And I have to say that the work that I've done, just, I mean, for my work and then to focus on raising inclusive kids, has been so beneficial in so many different ways. I mean, we have randomly, one of my favorite stories is we were at the park and there was this little girl, pretty sure she's autistic, and um she was kind of playing, and then all of a sudden she like ran into the center of the playground and started stimming. She was jumping, she screamed, she was like moving her hands, and my child, the scream kind of startled my child, and she jumped and looked around. And then I didn't say anything. All I did was I just stopped and watched her. And my child stopped and looked at her, and you can see her trying to think about it. And then she was like, and then she looked at me and was like, "Hey, she looks really excited to be at the park." And I was like, "Yeah, she does. Maybe we can play together." And then they kind of did some parallel play. They kind of followed each other a little bit on the playground, and it wasn't a lot, and that's fine. But it was just a really great example of that. My child was like learning to observe the situation and like see different ways of communicating, and I just thought it was so beautiful. Um, and if I was able to cry, I would probably cry right there because it was really just a great moment. So there it is, roughly 20 minutes, episode 9, behaviors, conversations, language, who knows? I only have one more episode that I promised for season 1. So I would love to hear people give me some sort of way to do a sign off for this season. That would be lovely. And I don't know how I'm going to do it. So literally anything. Have a great day. Inclusion starts with you, and I just want to help. Bye.